Okay, so today we basically want to be able to work on our server. What we want to do is I'm going to basically introduce, especially the new ones, the newest ones, the beginners, how to set up their MongoDB cluster and how to basically connect to your MongoDB database through your VS Code, right? So let's not waste too much time. With that one, right after we are done creating the MongoDB cluster, we would move on to create the models, right? The schema structure for the chat's history and the chat itself, right? So let's not waste too much time. Let's first of all go to MongoDB and try to so yeah, I think mongodb.com, that's where we should go, and I'll just try to sign up with my my Gmail. Yeah, so for me, I have an account. I might not be able to recreate a whole cluster from scratch, but I should be able to help you walk through it, right? I should be able to point you inside the right direction and you know give you the things to look out for you to be able to recreate your own cluster from scratch in case this is your first time opening MongoDB up. All right, so looking at this right, what you want to do is when you open up MongoDB fresh, I've forgotten how exactly the look was, right? It looks like they've improved their UI, and so I don't know, but you should see something like create cluster, right? So as you can see, for me right now, I can see create cluster here. I'll just click on that, and okay, it's asking, okay, continue. Okay, so um for MongoDB, when you create one cluster for the first time, you have the option to choose free. I think it should be somewhere around here. You should be able to choose free somewhere around here, right? So just select the free option, right? So let's say this is the free option, like it will look different from yours. So you select the free option, you give your cluster a name. I don't know, you can maybe type the name of your company. I don't know. Maybe some of you might be trying to build a startup right off the bat, through this tutorial. I don't know, but you can like give your company name, and so yeah. So once you've been able to do that, you can like scroll down and select your provider. This one, a lot of people try to ask me questions like, which one should I choose? I don't think. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I am the one that doesn't know what goes on here, but I don't know, I just select any because just because it's like, come on. I don't see the difference. And like over here, you just have to look for the one that is closest to you. And I think for this particular cluster in this account, I had selected the Paris. I think that's why it is still here like this. But I think for the other accounts, I selected South Africa because like I'm in Africa and anything. So yeah. So yeah, I mean that's it. And then over here, I don't think they'll ask you anything again if you're creating a fresh um cluster, right? Then I think from here you just click on create cluster. Yeah, for the rest of it, you can just ignore because I'm sure they'll have this optional flag, and then you just click on create cluster or something, right? um so yeah, once you create your cluster, let me just go back. Once you create your cluster, there are a couple of things you want to look out for, right? um what are these things? Now let me not just go straight to these things. I want you to understand the thought process and why we would need these things, right? So let's quickly get back into the project. So you okay, let's get back to the project, but before we do that, let's quickly get the connection string, right? So for the connection string, if you have extra options, you want to make sure that you select VS Code, right? Because like some of the buttons will be asking you like a bunch of questions. I don't know why. Okay, I think when you click on connect here, Yeah, so they'll ask you like a bunch of options. So you just select mongodb for VS Code, and you copy this, right? Once you copy this, that's your connection string. You want to quickly get back into your app, right? So your code here. Then let's quickly go to the server. Let me just collapse this front end. Let's come to the server here, and then we have the index.js, right? Okay, so for this index.js that we have here, right, what we want to do is we want to create a function, right, that would allow us to connect to our database anytime our server starts running, right? Now most of the time, or some of the times, like, you see people create their db connection functions inside the index.js, but as time goes on, you might want to get a little bit organizational. So you want to create a new folder called db connect, like we have always done in our previous videos. So db connect, and inside your db connect you have db.js, right? Then over here you can import mongoose from, like, you require from mongoose. So okay, so mongoose, I'm confused. It feels like we've not installed mongoose because it should have shown here. So let's quickly install mongoose without wasting any much time. So I'll just put the terminal again. I'll cd into the backend, clear, and then we are using npm, so npm I, then mongoose. So that should install mongoose for us. Once mongoose has been installed, we would come here and create a function, say db connect, right? So this function db connect can be an arrow function. It's going to also be asynchronous, and we'll open up with an empty parameter, or no parameters inside. Then we have this try catch block that we'd want to use. We can log out the error in case there is any. So once we do that, over here we can quickly come and then pick up the mongoose that we have, and then we can connect. So we connect. So yeah, so this is mongoose.connect. Then this is where we are supposed to be passing our connection string, right? This is where connection string is supposed to go, but we all know that we don't want to use that. We want to use the process.env .db URL in our case, right? So we want to come to our env, and we want to quickly create. So we can say db URL. Mind you, you can just paste the connection string raw without putting it inside the double quotes, right? You can just do it, but I don't know, I just feel safer doing it like how you see me do it. So which one? Yeah, I think this one. So I'll just put it inside here like this, and then you want to make sure that at the end here, at the end over here, you want your collection name, you want the main name for the particular application that you're working on. So since you're working on a ChatGPT clone, we can say neural feed AI. We can just, since you're working on neural feed AI, we can just give the name neural feed AI. So it's going to create like a separate collection and store all our data inside that neural feed AI section. Yeah. So yeah, now we need the db username and a db password, right? So this is where we'll go back and then tackle the parts where I was talking about in the beginning. So for that, we would have to come to the database access, and for that I'll just quickly edit. So okay, Okay, so I'll just pre-assume that most of us are new to MongoDB. So for that, we'll create we'll just add a new database user, right, by clicking on this button. And then for the new database user, we can basically say we can give like a password and a username. So this is the username, beginner 123, or just beginner, right? And then password is beginner 123, right? If you show, you should see it. Okay, I would have been struggling if I didn't check. So beginner 123. Then what we can do is you scroll down, and then we would add a built-in role. So for this built-in role, we'll say what, read and write to any database. You want to do that so you don't avoid any unnecessary errors in the future. Then you want to add your user, right? So we just added a user, beginner with the password beginner 123. So we'll take these details that we have, right? We'll go back into our VS Code here, and we would add it, right? So we'd say beginner and what, and which one again, beginner. So for the password, beginner 123, beginner 123. So we have beginner 1, and then we have the beginner, and we have the beginner 123, right? So once we've been able to set this up, we want to look at something else that your mind might not go towards. That is the network access. So for the network access, by default you'll be given this one, the 154.160.6 like, I mean, everybody's IP address that is assigned is different, right? So what you want to do is you want to add a new one, and you want to just say 0.0.0.0, and that should basically say, oh, like, you can accept any request from anywhere, right? So that you prevent future unnecessary errors. Other people say don't use this, but at the end of the day, Charlie, you don't want to be dealing with certain things when users are complaining about a broken feature somewhere, right? So yeah, let's, right now that we've been able to set this up, let's just go back to the project. And you see, we have this function that we've created here, right? After we've been able to connect, or we've written our connection function, we want to make sure that we are logging out something to indicate that we've been connected successfully. So I'll say database has been, or database connected. Yeah, this one is simple. So once we have that, we want to quickly export it. So I'll say module.exports, and then I'll just put a db connect inside. Yeah, there's a reason why I'm doing it like this, because it's not, I don't want to intentionally come back and have to import it in case I need it. So put it inside like this, and then I can just call it from wherever I am. So inside our index.js, right above this console log, we just say db connect, and yeah, it just comes, we initialize it, and we should be able to connect to our database. So you can see database connected, and then the server is running. So yeah, I mean, that's it, that's basically it. So yeah, we can now connect, we've now been able to connect to our database, and we can now read and write data to and out of it. So what we quickly want to move on to right now is building the model. So we want to quickly build the model for our AI clone, right? Our ChatGPT clone, right? So in order for us to be able to start doing that, we're going to quickly go inside our backend folder here again, and then we'll create a new folder called models, right? So inside the models, we'll create two models. You see chat chat.model.js, right? So chat.model.js, and then inside your chat.model.js you want to import mongoose as usual. Require mongoose, right? Exactly. So now that we have been able to require mongoose, what we can do is we can say const what? You can say const chat schema or chat model. It doesn't really change anything. So chat schema, chat model, however. So once we have that, we just say create a new mongoose dot schema. So you are taking this schema module out of it. So modules dot schema. Then right inside of it, we can have you can basically have a bunch of properties, right? Let's first of all put in user ID, because we want to make sure that each and every single chat that we open belongs to a particular user. All right, so we want to make sure that the user ID is what is a type string, right? And then it's required, because we need it, or creating a chat will be impossible. Like it wouldn't make sense, and we wouldn't be able to do a lot of things. So yeah, so now that it's required, we want to be able to get another field, right? We want to say that this is what we want to say. We want to say the history, right? So the history, but where are we getting this history from, right? Where are we getting this history? We are getting this history from the Google Docs. If we go back to the Google Docs over here, and we scroll down, now you can see that we have this. So let's even quickly copy this, right? We have these bad boys here. Okay, so I'll just copy that, come back, and I'll paste that. So now that we've been able to paste it here, we'll just change like a couple of things, right? So this rule isn't going to just be a rule, but it's going to be an object, right? So for this side, it's going to be a type string. Okay, then we're going to be we want to say that, oh, even though we've defined our rules, we want to make sure that we are defining the options for these rules, right? Like we can't just come up with any rule string or whatever. We need to be able to define the options that we have to select from, right? So we can't go outside of those options. So we can either be a user or a model, which is the AI model, right? Can either be a user or a model. Then we have to make sure that this rule is required before we can create any chat, right? Or yeah, so yeah, we just make sure that it's required, not true. Then at this part over here, right, this part, since it is already since it's already an array, and then we have this property inside called text, we want to define the model for the text, right? So the model for the text, or the field for the text, is going to be a type of string, right? And we want to make sure that this type string, right, is required. Okay, so we set the required to be true. Okay, so now that we've been able to deal with this, okay, so yeah, let's quickly just take this off. right? So we have just one object inside we have just one object inside the parts array, and then inside this object we have the text, right? Now we've been able to set this up nicely, okay, but there's one more thing that we've not added, and that is the image, because at the end of the day we want to be able to pass in images too as well, right, in the chat. So since we know this now, what we want to do is right under the parts, right under this part here, we want to send an image field, and then this image field is going to be a type string, okay. Then we make sure that it's false, right? You can either pass it in like this, or you can just leave it like this, right? So either way, or if you like, maybe just so that we'll be safe, we can add it, right, just so we can be safe. Then right after doing this or setting this up, we want to make sure that we are passing in a timestamp. So here we'll say timestamp, and then we'll set that to what's true, okay. Nice. So right after setting this up, we want to make sure that we are exporting it. So let's create a new variable. Most of us, or back in the days, in the previous videos, you realize we just take the mongoose model, like we just export it straight like that. But like I said before, I don't want us to have to intentionally import stuff, right? So let's just create like a model here, name it chat, right? Then this chat is going to store mongoose.model, right? This is going to store mongoose.model, then chat, right? Then we passing what, the chat model, right? So now that we have this, what we are going to do is we'll just say module.exports and we equate it to the chat. Right, so now that we've been able to export our chat model like this, we can use it basically anywhere, right? Now let's move on to creating the user chat, that is the chat history that we have here, this side. So all the chats that belong to a particular user, let's create the model for that chat. That is going to be pretty simple. What we are going to do is you just copy this, and then we'll come here back inside the models, and then we'll create a user chat dot model.js, and then we'll paste that. Then right after we are done pasting it, what we'll do is over here we can, okay, let's quickly copy this side, and then I just selected that chat side, and then I'll just press Ctrl F2 to select all instances of that, and then I'll change it to user chat, right? So now that we have, so you can see user chat right over here. Okay, so let me quickly rename this, or let's just leave it like that. So you can see user chat, right? Now we are going to be changing a few things. What is that thing that we're going to be changing? So you can see this is a list of chats, right? So that one we just say something like chats, okay. Then inside every chat we are going to need an ID for it, okay. We are going to have to store the ID of every chat, okay. So let me just remove this. So like I said before, every chat is going to have an ID, right? And then that ID is going to be a type string. Okay, looking at this string error that I have, or this string mistake that I have here, means I need to go back here and check, okay, yeah, and make sure that it's a capital S. Then we'll get back here, so you can see the ID of every chat here has to be passed in. Then we want to make sure that every chat has a title, as you can see. So we'll just pass in a title field, and we'll set the type to string. You get it? Then we'll come back here and then say required is what? True, because definitely we need it before we can show it here. Then we want to store the time that this chat was created, right? So we set the created at field of that chat to be a type date. Oh, come on. And we set the defaults to be date.now. Exactly. So now that we have this all set up, at the end of the day, when we check, we are already exporting our user chats, so there's no need for any extra changes. In the next part, or the next video, we are going to basically be able to add a new chat or start a new chat inside the application. So I just want you to hang around, go through this video, implement it yourself, and I'll definitely meet you in the next one. Bye.